From Sebring to Barber to Sonoma, eventually we land here in Texas at Circuit of the Americas. This bumpy and hilly track is going to be a rodeo ride of a race as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman Series. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Joey, what are our drivers up against with this place?
Yeah, well, the drivers are up against a lot, just like how we're up against a lot with dealing with everything in the background right now. But COTA, Circuit of the Americas, let's go ahead and take a look at the track map. It is a wonderful facility that we have right outside of Austin, Texas. It is a FIA Grade 1 track, just like the Formula One cars race on that we'll see a little bit later in 2026. But talking about that track, it is kind of split up into three sectors, three clear sectors. Sector number 1, which we're looking at overhead from the drone shot right now, feeds us into the S's. Sector number 2 is really the back half of the S's and the back straightaway. And then sector number 3 takes us all the way through that stadium section, a much tighter technical bit on this racetrack. But I think our big passing opportunity is definitely on that back straightaway.
I agree with you on that one, but let's take a look at the starting grid for today's event, race 1 of the weekend for the Cayman Series, as we do have all three of our series racing here for the Sprint Challenge. We've got Simon Reed, starting next to Keith Grant on the top row. Then it is going to be Anna Checki next to Cody Knight in 3rd and 4th. Tom Rogers will start in the 5th position with Rami Farid in 6th. David Grant, P7, is followed by Bill Pelichowski in 8th. And then it is Greg Checki starting 9th with Chad Knight on the outside in 10th.
And then over into 11th, we do have Greg Herback. Starting next to him on 12th is going to be Dominique Lecoq. And then on the next row in 13th is going to be Todd Ratura starting in 13th. Spencer Proper lined up next to him starting from the 14th place. Then we also have a few more down here. Justin Lewis is going to be starting off from 15th with Tad Cusack rolling off in 16th. A few more, Tom Kerr back here in 17th, Rob Trollinger in 18th, and then I believe that is going to be all of the cars that are hitting the track here today. We also have Koch out in the number 23 as an entry, but I believe we've got 18 cars on the racetrack.
There you can see them already on that back straightaway. They're going to get lined up 2 by 2 pretty shortly out here. Still about the same conditions we saw for GT3 Cup qualifying about an hour or so ago, Joey. About 90 Fahrenheit on the track itself. So not too bad for first race of the weekend.
No, and I think I'm mainly looking at that ambient air temperature, mid-70s, that is nice and cool for these drivers to manage those temperatures. The track temperature, like you mentioned, 90 degrees, nice and warm out there. Humidity up to about 72%. We haven't seen any showers or any sort of rain kind of precipitate down onto the racetrack here. Joe, I know you've been looking at the radar, and there is potential maybe a little bit later, but for now, it's dry.
It should hold off until after this race is over, but we shall see. Mother Nature has caught us off guard before already, even this season. I think back to Sebring, where we had showers suddenly pop up right within minutes of just suddenly getting dark out. In the meantime, we are getting ready to go racing as we come up to the final corner. And Simon Reed, who is going to lead them away, is our Masters pole sitter. He is well away from the others in his class. Now, they're going to hold them for the start line, not the finish line, so they can't go quite yet, but they have 2 wonderful rows here on the front straight at COTA. We wait patiently, and there is the green flag as already we get cars popping out of line. We might get some black flags for that because they are supposed to stay in line until they cross that marker. But up into turn 1 at Big Red, we're 4 wide, and drivers are trying to make their way through as body parts fly off. And I think Cody Knight has lost multiple positions.
The number 3 got nudged at the apex, and you're right, definitely drops down the order several positions. He's on the back foot trying to regain that track position. I do see, though, it is Reed out front giving chase as Keith Grant in that orange machine. Anna Checki slots into 3rd. Oh, a little bit wide there. That's going to give a nice run to Tom Rogers, who is up to 4th overall.
Tom sitting second in the Masters. He wants to catch up to Simon Reed. Let's see if he can manage to make up those spots to prevent that 12 car from running away. There we already see the message from Race Control that the start is under review. Obviously understandable that they weren't too pleased about that, as Anichecki there in third place, definitely using plenty of the runoff at 10.
Let's see about the run out onto the back straightaway for the first time. That's Tom Rogers holding off. And now we got contact there in turn number 11. That's definitely a car with some heavy front-end damage. I believe it's two cars with some significant damage.
I think that was Cody Knight with more problems and Rami Farid, who finds his way off to the side of the track. If they are stranded, we are probably going to be going to a safety car here in a moment. But it is Keith Grant who leads in the Pro-Ams just ahead of Anichecki. He is hot on her heels in the championship. He needs to finish ahead of her as he's been very consistent with 2 second places last time at Sonoma.
Full course yellow there. You see the message from Race Control on the bottom of your screen, and this is the reason why we have 2 stranded cars on the exit of what is turn number 11. You see the driver of the number 3 car anxiously run out. I think that he is running over to maybe a corner station, try to get some help.
Yeah, hopefully that is just steam coming off from the radiator, since that is on the front of these cars, and not something else, something worse. Both of them seem to be certainly spilling out some sort of fluids at this stage. Well, 35 minutes plus a lap for a normal race, but it's going to be a little bit shorter in terms of green flag racing now that we slow back up. And for poor Cody Knight, he won't be able to repeat the heroics of his first win at the last race at Sonoma. That's going to be a DNF today.
That is a shame there, like you had mentioned. Definitely been on a nice streak of speed there for that number 3 car, but just kind of unraveled. And I will say that I don't think it was his fault down there at turn number 1. When we watched that initial start, he was on the outside, and I get it, trying to crowd down towards the apex, but Big Red up at turn number 1 is just this inviting corner, and then it funnels down at the apex, and there's just no way that you can fit that many cars wide.
I mean, my immediate thought when I saw that and that he got clipped was, how are you going to know that there's 3 cars to your inside? You'd expect 1, maybe 2, if you're starting on the outside of that row. But, yeah, that was just kind of tough luck for him, I think, in this situation. Takes a couple more cars out. Hopefully we didn't have anybody else involved in that turn 11 Shamazel that has to deal with some damage, and it was just those 2. And I know that the damage we saw early mostly seemed to come from Cody's car because it looked like white body parts coming off and not the 2 to his inside. But if we do wind up having any other sort of damage, no doubt we'll see them duck into pit lane pretty shortly. Not a whole lot of changes out there. Tom's still sitting in second, but he's still split by Keith and Anna in the Pro-Am, so he's trying to catch up to Simon Reed. We didn't get a full lap of racing, so not too surprising that the order kind of resembles our grid.
Like you said, only that one single lap of racing out there, and I'm actually kind of anxious to see what Race Control has to say. You were pointing it out on our green flag, on our initial green flag. Now, the rule states that you have to stay in column, right? You have to stay in the line. So if you are in the line and pop out of line, even if it's because of a checkup in front of you, you are now the person to blame pretty much. And I saw, 2, maybe even 3 cars that were well out of column. And we had 2 that definitely I noticed pop out. If there was a third that I had missed, then yeah, that's going to be some serious problems for an even shorter race to try and make that up. I know at least one of them was it looked like within the top 6 cars, I think that might have popped out of line in the process. As for the rest of our field, I want to mention that David Grant is still on the podium, the Pro-Ams, although he's down in 7th overall, so it's a ways to go. But Todd Rutura sitting just outside of that pole. He's another one that's trying to start and get a second win. We actually had 2 first-time winners. I already mentioned Cody Knight took his first win. Todd Rutura was the other one that finally got his first win back
in California. That was in race 1. But Keith Grant, with those 2 second places, definitely did himself no harm in trying to keep up with Anna Cech. Excuse me, 2 third places. I'm looking at it now that he finished. He did get beat by Anna in race 2 as she finished in P2 in that one. They are obviously also reviewing the incident between the 53 and the 3, so we don't have a replay on that one yet. We're still hoping to take a little bit of a look and trying to figure out what exactly happened.
Hey, Burba, my GPX dash is not working.
And
I keep refreshing and it keeps
we
freezing.
do hope to get those replays up soon. Apologies, we have a few technical problems on our end, so and we'll get you some more info here soon. So as we watch them continue on around, it looks like through turn 1, Anna Cech just following her way around, knowing she needs to hold on to this lead. She hasn't taken a class win since race 2 at Sebring.
Burba, we have issues over here. I cannot, we don't have a feed.
So, thankfully you are getting a view here, as now we've got picture on that one going through turn 1. And still 3 wide in behind them, so no wonder so many of the drivers wound up tangling with one another.
Yeah, I'm running now. I'm on mute, so obviously the broadcast.
Chad Knight, the good news for fans of the Knights, even though Cody is out, Chad is still on the podium in the number 32.
It's all working now, but it was
Bill Pelichewski sitting in 4th in the number 62 machine. And Greg Cech sitting in 5th. This is coming around turn 12 now as we watch them. Looks like mostly having cleaned it up. This is good news. They've already got Cody out of the way. Looks like for Reed is just about clear on that one. So the Circuit of the Americas crew doing a fantastic job being on the ball. Shouldn't cost us too much racing time. We're already down to about 26 minutes plus a lap to go. And, yeah, there we're seeing coming off that final corner already one of the safety vehicles leaving the scene. Looks like they're ready to take off with the other ones. They just take another little bit of the debris out. Joey, looks like we got another replay of some of what happened here on lap 1.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. This is down into turn number 11. So look at that white car with the red stripe. It's going to happen just to the left side of the screen here. And judging from it, that's an interesting one because Rami was behind from what I saw out of the number 3. I wonder if the number 3 had a problem going into the corner and then Rami made an impact going into it. But that doesn't really piece together a whole lot of pieces for me.
I'm still seeing a little bit of debris out there. I hope that doesn't cause problems. We're going to get an onboard look at things. This is on with Cody Knight. So this should answer a lot of questions right here. Looking to the inside. Oh. Interesting. So Rami practically missed the corner, hit another car, and I'd be curious to know who that was.
That looked like Greg Cech. That looked like a Cech car, just kind of by the livery and the scheme
I think you're right.
of it. And that's why I was just so confused with the number 3 car on the inside of that spin.
I was too.
Yeah, you nailed it perfectly, but we're going back green.
All right, let's get back to racing. 25 minutes plus 1 lap to go, and we are underway up towards turn 1. Simon Reed up at the front as coming towards Big Red. Keith Grant follows through and is ahead of Anna Cech. Anna needs to try and finish ahead of that number 40 to try and hold on to her lead in the championship, which is not a big one. Behind them, Tom Rogers doing a great job considering he's running this one on an injured hand.
You were telling me about that. Had a little bit of a slip of some cutlery and cut open his thumb. So good to see him all bandaged up out here and currently hanging out in what is fourth place. The only problem is that Masters class lead is actually our overall lead is Pelichewski in that bright pink Nerds machine. Always a great scheme to spot.
Nice and easy to see just outside of the podium right now. Start violation, drive-through penalty for the 59 machine. That is Todd Rutura. Not the way he wanted this to go. Both of our winners at last round are having a bit of a miserable run on this one. Oh, and that's way off into the grass for somebody out of turn 11.
Yeah, that was definitely a bumpy ride going out onto the back straightaway, and it's going to cost him speed all the way down here. I think I see maybe Greg Checky is under threat, and this is going to be Pelichewski under threat from David Grant into the brake zone of turn number 12. We saw the GT3 Cup cars doing over 160 miles an hour on the back straightaway here. These Caymans have about the same amount of horsepower. I'd expect them to be approaching 160 miles an hour as well.
So they're giving incident responsibility to Rami Farid. That'll be a stop plus 30, which will be added to his race time. Meanwhile, this is Todd Rutura in the sort of plaid liveried car. We'll talk about the story behind that in a little bit. Not only is he going to have to give up time, but the 29, that is David Grant. He's been given a penalty for start violation. That means Spencer Proper is going to be promoted from 5th to the podium.
Nicely done there. And yeah, we'll be just kind of curious on how it all sorts out. You'd mentioned David Grant. He was the one that was pressurizing Pelichewski. It looks like he's actually come down pit road. David Grant just fed by us, and I wonder if Todd Rutura came down as well.
Well, it was an interesting restart to this race, but at least a little bit more smooth. Simon Reed still dealing with quite a bit of Keith Grant holding on. Look at how tight Anna Checky is staying to that number 40 car. She is making sure that Keith cannot slip up anywhere. She's trying her best to lay the pressure on.
Sticking as close to that rear bumper as possible. She's doing a nice job staying right on the racing line, maybe drifting out a little bit wide. She's got an interesting situation, though, because that's Tom Rogers now. It's approaching in that rear view mirror. And you got to think Tom Rogers wants to go up there and fight with his Masters class competitor. But the only problem is Simon Reed's all the way up front. He's got two blockers in the form of Keith Grant and Anna Checky.
I'm sure he'd appreciate if they didn't battle and just kind of kept Tom Rogers back there for a while. But if they do start fighting, that could open things up for Tom to try and sneak through. They're not really concerned with that 44. They want to watch each other. And this is an interesting reversal as Rutura, a little bit edged out on the exit of 11, still hasn't served his penalty while David Grant has gone in and out. But a reversal of race 1 at Sebring here, where remember Anna had Keith Grant climbing all over that bumper trying to get by, and she held him off.
Coming into the stadium section here, and this is the first time that we've really seen our leader kind of have a little sigh of relief, right? He's got maybe a 2-car length gap between himself and Keith Grant, and Anna Checky, like you had been mentioning all lap, really applying the pressure to the back end of this orange number 40. Keith maybe applying a little bit of a stiff arm through this section down here. Even Anna just kind of out in no man's land for now. See if she tries to crawl it back in here at turn number 19. A very difficult corner.
Worth noting that Reed set a purple second sector. Let's see what this latest one will wind up being as they get to finish the lap now. Yeah, fastest lap of the race by quite a margin, about 0.3 of a second. Simon Reed is now flying now that he's got that car underneath him. But Rutura has now served his penalty, so Proper is up on the podium, 3rd in the Pro-Ams.
Start another lap here at COTA, and like you mentioned, up into 3rd for that Pro-Am class for Spencer Proper up there, and now he is just going to chug away on the laps here at this Austin, Texas facility. Here's a good fight. Pelichewski right on the back of the 32 car. This is Knight back here. This is a battle for what is 3rd place in the Masters class.
Chad, the father of Cody Knight, out here racing. Very proud racing father. We got to watch him, or talk to him back at Barber as he joined us in the booth for a little bit to talk about seeing his son get to run and compete out there. But he's a little bit less concerned with that at the moment, because right behind him, like you mentioned, Bill Pelichewski is very, very close, trying to see if he can take that podium spot away. Both of them with a good exit, but it looks like a little bit better for Chad Knight. He's got a much bigger gap now.
And this back straightaway is quite long, so the slipstream is apparent. Getting some great comparisons there on the screen just between those two drivers of Knight and Pelichewski, between their fastest lap and their last lap, and they are pretty much right on top of each other. Car 31 did spin and continued on. That seems like Dominique Lecoq down there in what is 11th in class.
Unfortunate, but there's still plenty of racing left on this one. Look at Hannah nearly touching the back of that car now as they go through the stadium section. This is now past the tower. Keith, if he's being held up by Simon Reed, needs to do something soon, because he is sandwiched between a rock and a hard place.
And Tom Rogers has actually fallen off just a touch. I mean, you still see him there barely in the shot, but he was very much on the back bumper of that white and blue number 27, so he's starting to fall off of the back of the pack just a little bit, and Simon Reed continues to just lay down fast lap after fast lap. After all, he does have our fastest lap of the race as well at 2:17.0.
Yeah, so another purple lap, like you said, for him. But I find it interesting that don't seem to be significantly faster than those behind him, because, I mean, look at how close they've been staying. I would have thought that he'd be a bit farther up the road from them at this stage. And that's kind of why I mentioned that I almost wonder if Keith Grant is maybe being held up just a bit behind this number 12 machine. You just can't seem to shake Anichecki behind him.
Already got some track limits violation on car 62 out there. That is Bill Pelichewski. Just have to kind of keep an eye on it. Race control is always watching, so they're going to invalidate lap times now. That doesn't drop them down out of the order. However, if you do run off track enough times, you will have to come down pit road.
Interesting that we're seeing Lecoq come into the pits. I wonder if there's a bit more to that spin than we know about, because if he didn't hit anything, he might as well just carry on, but he's perhaps having the team give it a look over before he's sent back out. That does promote Todd Rotura and David Grant each up in overall position, but they don't gain anything class-wise from that one. Nicely done by Chad Knight up to this stage, still keeping Pelichewski far enough back that he's not been an issue these latest laps. Another track limits violation for the 59 machine, it appears.
And I believe that's Todd Rotura. So I have a feeling that throughout the races, we're constantly going to be getting those messages from race control. And like I was mentioning, it really only matters once they kind of get into the true infraction status where they're going to have to serve a penalty. Race control has some leniency. Now, if this was qualifying, those laps won't count. But since we're here in the race, they do get to continue on with the race, and you just can't do it too many times.
Last thing you want is a drive-through penalty. Just ask Todd and David after they've already had to serve theirs at the start of this race, and it's cost them so much time in comparison to those ahead of them. They'll flash past us once more on the main straight. Simon Reed cutting down his laps, now down to the 2:16s, with Keith Grant following. Anichecki, though, dropping off a little.
That last lap from her at 2:17.5, you were just pointing out Reed's 2:16.5. So, yeah, that's a second difference just between our leader and our third place overall. Now, I mentioned that I'm not going to be reading out all the track limits violations, but Pelichewski just had lap 6 and lap 7 invalidated. You just have to keep an eye.
That was because it was at turn 20, I believe, which means that you can't get an advantage coming.
It was both laps.
Onto.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we had lap 6 deleted, and then we had lap 7 deleted from turn number 12. So it was two separate incidents down there.
Okay.
As we have, this is, I believe, Herbeck taking a little bit of a look down the inside of Tad Cusack.
It is, in fact. This is for 6th in the Masters. They'll climb up the hill. It's pretty steep up there to turn 9, where it's blind up to the crest, and then you immediately fall back down once again over 10. But a nice job by Cusack responding. Greg was so close to him for a little while, and now needs to get a little bit tighter if he wants to try and make an attempt.
Both get a nice wide run out onto the back straightaway. You see Herback kind of straddling that curb. It's the same concept of if you have it on the brake zone. So those are alligator stepped curbs, and you want to have the platform as smooth as possible. If you're straddling that curb, everything is A-OK. If you've got one tire on the curb, it tends to really shake and rattle the car, and you're not getting the maximum performance drive forward.
And there you can see it looks like Cusack losing maybe a third of a second to Herback in that battle. He continues to close on him, trying to see what he can do here in the North America Series. Down through the stadium section, that number 15 car at least doing a good job keeping him from getting too close to him. Does seem to be an ebb and a flow over the course of the lap on who is stronger where.
I was going to point that out between our top three. You were mentioning the battle between Simon Reed and Keith Granta a little while ago. I mean, I really did feel like those two drivers were completely different ends of speed at different ends of the racetrack. So that's one of the reasons why COTA is so interesting. So many sectors out here and corners that feed one into another. Sometimes drivers are a little bit better in one area and maybe not so good in others.
Interesting attempt at a switchback here from Bill as he tries to go underneath, coming down towards the S's. Nearly makes contact with Chad Knights, but Chad will deny him for now. You do not want to be going side by side. You talked about how important it is to stay on the racing line through the S's.
As soon as you get on the back foot in one apex, all of a sudden it seems like you're even further on the back foot at the next apex, and COTA just feeds you one corner after another. There is no straightaway between these corners. Look, here between 8 and 9, nothing. Between 9 and 10, maybe a little bit of a breathe, but trust me, that platform of elevation to go downhill, it may not look like much here from these overhead shots, but it is significant inside the car.
It absolutely is, and that car behind them, the black and white, that's Spencer Proper. So he's a Pro-Am. He's not racing them for points right now. He just does not want to get tangled up in this because he's got a huge gap down to David Grant, who's sitting 12th overall. So for Spencer, he just wants to bring this one home from here. And if those two try to sort it out amongst themselves, that's none of his business for the most part, although he's a little deep into the corner.
That was really, really deep from Spencer Proper, but the most important thing is that he got the car slowed up enough to not drive it off the racetrack, or at least from what I saw, not drive it off of the racetrack. In that corner, Joe, I know that you were talking about it a little bit earlier in the day, turn number 12, that's where Race Control has the majority of their eyes.
Exactly, and best finish so far this season for Chad Knight was another third place. That was the first race. He hasn't been on the podium since. He's going to be hungry to try to find himself back up onto these top three steps, and Bill Pelichowski is trying to deny him. Down to less than 12 minutes, plus one lap left to go in this one. Chad's going to at least have to hold him off for another 6 laps or so, and will he be able to? Because here comes Pelichowski up the inside, leans on him, coming out of turn 20, and where did that red car wind up going? Because it almost looked like he speared towards the exit. Oh, full course yellow. He must have ran into the wall.
That's what I am going to assume. Now, we don't have any camera shot of it yet, but full course yellow immediately usually means a car is in the tire somewhere, and I know that this one will probably be put under a magnifying glass.
It looked like he shot off in that direction pretty quickly. I wonder if they touched tires. And the good news is we can see the driver moving, so that is great to see that he's okay, but it looked like he is absolutely buried into the safer barriers.
Very frustrating moment there for both of those drivers. I'm sure that Pelichowski didn't necessarily need to lean on Knight out there, but there was definitely contact, and I think my brain goes to Joe. This number 62 car has already had Race Control send a couple messages about track limits violation, and that certainly looked pretty wide in 20 as well.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's not that Bill Pelichowski might get a penalty for. Maybe it's for that contact that we saw out there, as slight as it was. So maybe it'll be Greg Checky who winds up in third in the end. But again, speculation. We don't know what Race Control is going to say about any of this up at this stage. By the way, I do want to say, if that was Greg Checky that had that contact that we saw at turn 11 earlier, he's still running in fourth, and that was a pretty good thunk that he took.
You know, I wonder if, as we get everything packed up, right, everything kind of calms down a little bit, if we could maybe get one of our camera ops to get a good close-up look of the driver's left side as we get a shot of our stricken number 32 car. I'm not sure if the driver has been extracted yet or not, but there's at least a shot of it on the front straightaway. What I was getting ready to say is, on Greg Checky's car, which is the number 72, if we could maybe get a shot of the left side of the car pretty close up, we can see if that was the car that got impacted.
Yeah, that's one thing I really want to know, because we do have other cars. I know Spencer Proper has a similarly painted car, but unsure if it would have been him. We'll try and track down and see if we can find out who exactly it was that they wound up getting into. But it's been a rough season for Chad Knight. You think back to Barber, where unfortunately also had a car lined up in the wall. So it's been a bit of an expensive one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole Knight family, unfortunately, here today, between Cody earlier and now Chad in turn number 20. I'm sure that they will rebound and come back tomorrow. That's what this Sprint Challenge paddock is known for, right, is the camaraderie between the teams and making sure that everybody is able to get back out there on the racetrack. So I'm sure that all the teams and all the team managers will be going over and asking if the number 32 needs any help.
So the two drivers, really, that are probably appreciating this is David Grant and Todd Rutura. They served their penalties. Now they get back up to the field and at least have a chance to try and make some passes, because before those drive-thrus meant that they were many, many seconds behind. It would have been very tough to try and catch many cars before the end of this. But they're going to have precious little time to do so, because we're still in the midst of this cleanup and we're less than 8 minutes left.
And typically the safety car laps here are well beyond 3 minutes. Our last lap right there was 3 minutes and 12 seconds, but got to remember, safety car actually hadn't collected the field yet at that point. So, and there's the 72. Yes, I do see bodywork hanging off of the left side, kind of that intake scoop on the left side. So, Joe, I think that kind of solves part of our Scooby-Doo mystery.
Yeah, and I am kind of, he must have gotten very lucky.
Right in the door.
Yeah, if it was just a little bit farther back, that would have been suspension damage without a doubt, and he would be done for this race. So, yeah, you can replace a door a little bit easier, and well, more importantly, keep on running with a door that might be a little bit out of shape. We got a replay, I would assume, of the incident out of turn 20. So here's the view from Chad Knight. This is turn 19, Joey, and then down towards the scene of the action.
So Pelichowski is going to force the way down to the inside. Chad leaves tons of room at apex, not a question of racing room, and then that's what I was afraid was going to happen. So when they made contact with wheel to wheel, it just seems like it broke something in the front left suspension of Chad's car, and he was simply a passenger at that point.
That's kind of what I suspected, the way it veered off as soon as they touched. Yeah, it did kind of have the signs of that. So again, mysteries being solved all the time today, apparently, as now we ride on board with Bill Pelichowski. That incident is under review. I don't know if we've mentioned that yet, but kind of a thing you can assume at this stage based on what we just saw. So we'll see whether or not Bill winds up with his own penalty out of that. I mean,
I'd be really surprised if there's not, because I mean, Chad left 3 car lengths at the apex, right? And then to be kind of done wrong at the exit. I'm sure that he is probably pretty fired up.
That was kind of my take, too. I'm glad that we're on the same page on that one, but let's hope we can get this going once again. Not the greatest of starts that we wanted for our COTA weekend, with 2 full-course yellows in the Cayman Race to kick things off. And Simon Reed with another restart to deal with as well. I'm sure when you're the leader, these cautions are the last thing that you want. You want to be up front, controlling the race in a smooth fashion, not giving opportunities on restarts for those behind you to try and attack.
Now here's what I'm curious about, because we haven't gotten too many shots of the turn 20 area, so I'm not sure if there's still work going on down there or not.
Oh, yeah.
But coming up to 4.5 minutes remaining, I had mentioned that our pace laps are about that under safety car. So I still think I see the lights on that safety car, you know, a handful of cars up there, but it's just a matter of that dwindling time clock.
Yeah, I'm showing the last lap at 3:12.
That was before they got picked up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So this one will be a little bit more telling to see how much time is left when they cross. So we'll get a little bit of an update here.
There's the truck still working out there on retracting the car out of the barriers and getting it up onto the flatbed. So I have a feeling this might be close.
Yeah, unless they get it done.
And we do have that +1 lap. I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm just realizing that our graphic doesn't show that we have +1 lap remaining. So we'll have to adjust that one.
Yeah, to familiarize those that haven't been dealing with this series before, the +1 comes after the clock hits 0. And I just realized we can actually see out our window.
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the work being done. And yes, we don't really see much of the track, so we don't rely on the windows here at COTA. But we can actually see them working. So, yeah, it looks like they're doing a little bit of work to the Tech Pro barrier, not the safer barrier. I apologize for referring to it incorrectly before. And it looks like they're just about done. So I think there's a good chance we can get this started.
Yeah, they're just kind of reshaping it into position. But I agree with you, Joe. We should be able to get this restarted. I love that I had no idea if they were still working on it.
The wreck happened right in front of us, so we didn't pay attention.
20 yards outside the window in front of us.
Professionals, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we do for a living. There's our split classes there on the left-hand side, kind of giving you a better lay of the land of where everybody is. And Spencer Proper really needs that separation, because there you can see David Grant still sits in 4th. It's just he's got to pass 4 cars and get to Proper, and probably do it in either 1 or 2 laps. It depends on if we're going to be getting going. The trucks are still there in front of us, so
they are picking everything up, though, and
yeah.
our number 32 car has officially made it onto the flatbed. It has been pulled out of the accident area, so it is actually about to go behind the wall right now. I do see that all of these safety workers have picked up everything that they have used to rake the gravel clean and make sure that the barriers are back in place, and now I think it is just the scramble to get back into the trucks and off of the racetrack. Yep, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, so they need the lights out by turn 15, and that is coming, I believe, through the...
yes.
Yeah, so that's through the triple apexer.
15, well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's a double apex. I guess it could be a triple apex, but 15 is the very, very tight left-hander.
Okay, I was thinking the tower. Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, it helps if I check the track map. You're right, it is the left-hander. Wow, we are on the ball today, apparently. There is turn 15. Now, question is, are the lights out on the safety car? Can't really see from this camera.
I would assume yes, because the safety trucks just came down pit road right here, and they were in a hustle, so I think they had been given some communication.
Now, if they get to the line before we hit 0, yes, and the safety car lights are off, we'll get 2 laps. So a green-white checkers, if you will, for our NASCAR fans, to try and wrap up this race. But we won't get any sort of overtime on this one. So if we get another problem, it's not going to be attempted again. That will effectively end the race. They will have time left, as the safety car just went past us, and they're getting ready to cross the line. Green flag is out. We go racing for 2 final laps here in race 1 at Circuit of the Americas down into turn 1. Simon Reed has a buffer between himself and Tom Rogers. He needs it to stay that way so he can keep any attempts from stealing that victory.
It was really a great launch out of 20 from Pelichowski. Kind of Tom Rogers was on the back foot on the front straightaway, but this is our top 3 out front. Simon Reed, Keith Grant, and Achecki, they have pulled out just a small breakaway over Tom Rogers, who has now left Pelichowski. He might have had a problem up in turn number 1, and there's the news from race control that we were expecting. Pelichowski is going to get a stop plus 30 seconds.
And I guess he could either choose to serve that this lap, and that would be the only chance, or just take the added time penalty at the end of the race. We'll see which way he goes. Either way, it's going to hurt as Anna Czecki is looking to the inside. She knows she needs to keep Keith Grant from making up time on her. Keith knows too. He goes defensive down into turn 11. He'll be shallow. This gives Anna a chance to cut back.
Let's see about the power down. I mean, I'm really impressed that Keith Grant was able to carve the apex as much as what he could, especially given how shallow he was going into the corner. He maybe used a little bit of that slipstream from Simon Reed out front, keeping Anna Czecki, call it a 4, maybe 5 car length gap by the time we hit the brake zone of turn number 12. Jump on these binders really hard. You see Reed run out a little bit wide. That's going to affect Keith Grant just a little bit. Anna Czecki closes it in.
20 points, or 21 points is the difference between them. Oh, she tries to once again just sneak through, down through the stadium section, but the door has been shut by the orange and chrome number 40. Still, she tries. She searches for some sort of way to sneak on through as Simon Reed continues to lead the overall as well as the Masters. White flag being prepared as they have 2 more corners to reach it.
Let's see about through 19. This is such a tricky corner to keep it on the racetrack. I'm really impressed with all of our drivers. A little bit of apex curbing dust being kicked up. And there you saw Pelichowski dive down towards pit lane to serve his penalty. 1 lap remaining here at COTA.
Greg Czecki up to the podium with that one. Could be another double Czecki podium for this weekend as we ride up to turn 1 once again. Look to the inside from Keith Grant. He wants to try and see if he could use Simon Reed to his best efforts to see if he could have a pit between he and Anna.
Things have seemed to have fallen back into the rhythm of what we had before the yellow flag with Reed and Grant trying to stretch it out, but oh, that was pretty wide there from the number 12 car. That's going to give an opportunity to Keith Grant. Can he get all the way down to the inside? He might have the overall lead. Simon Reed has to give it up. New leader, the orange 40, and here comes Anna Czecki. Watch out, drivers left.
And remember, she does not want to be separated. She has to try and make this move. Our battle for the lead in both classes is now nose to tail, although Keith Grant, with his pass, is much safer than what we see as Tom Rogers spies a chance immediately. The 12 is unable to defend. They're going to go 3 wide as they re-overtake Anna Czecki. It's a 2-for-1 for Tom Rogers. He goes to the lead.
Well, that just fell into the lap of the number 44. And oh my goodness, more 3 wide action out of turn number 11, a little bit further back as well. But, I mean, talk about the seas parting for Keith Grant.
Unbelievable. David Grant has actually managed to put himself just behind Spencer Proper, and we're going to have another change for the lead, this time somehow slicing to the inside. And now Simon Reed is once again ahead of the 44. Meanwhile, it looks like Anna Czecki has not been able to catch up completely over the grass for Greg Czecki.
That was a loose moment, but great job to collect up the car after having it way sideways coming out of what was, call it, the turn 13-14 complex, but I think our eyes are going to be peeled up towards the front of the orange number 40, Keith Grant. He leads our way down into what is turn number 19. He's got 1 corner remaining.
Another track violation for the 59, but in the meantime, Simon Reed almost looked like he had thrown it away with a bit of a mistake, but as they come around, Keith Grant will take the win. In the number 40, Simon Reed over in the Masters will claim his class win. What a finish to this race. That last 2-lap sprint really spiced things up.
That was wild. I was expecting everything to kind of explode on our first lap, but it was actually our second lap, our very final lap out there. And I mean, great job to Keith Grant to take advantage of the number 12 car going out wide there. And so I think that he did a terrific job to just basically use that racecraft and then basically slip down the inside. Anna Czecki did a terrific job as well to pretty much slot up into what was second place at the time, and then going down into turn number 11, you saw everything unfold. I think we're just waiting on maybe Pelichowski here to cross the start-finish line and collect the checkered flag, and then what we'll do is read through our official results. Here comes the number 62 after having to serve that Stop plus 30-second penalty. He crosses the line down in what will be 14th overall. Go ahead and read through our official results. Not sure if we'll have them by class or not, or if we're just going to go off of the ticker here. Looks like Keith Grant is going to be our Cayman Pro-Am winner. Anna Checki finishing there in second place with Spencer Proper. A terrific run in the back half of the race to come all the way up to what is third place. David Grant going to finish in fourth in class. Todd Ratura slips down to fifth. An unfortunate race there for the number 3 car of Cody Knight, getting involved in some incidents quite early on and not finishing today officially as 6th place. And then that takes us over to our Masters class. Simon Reed does end up victorious in class after he lost the overall lead there in the last lap, so nice job hanging on there. Same thing with Tom Rogers. He was involved in that major scrum on the final lap, comes home in second with Greg Checki in third place. That is our podium in the Masters. And then comes Greg Herback in fourth, Tad Cusack in fifth, Justin Lewis in sixth, Rob Trollinger in seventh, Tom Kerr in eighth. And then down here, Bill Pelichowski is going to be finishing in ninth place in class, is what it looks like. And then, unfortunately for everybody else, had issues on the racetrack. We saw Chad Knight get pushed out wide there in turn number 20. Dominique Lecoq a little bit earlier on, and then the Rami Farid incident down there in what was turn number 11. Well, folks, if you're watching on the stream, don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back with our podium celebrations.
We have Simon Reed with us, our winner in the Masters class today. Simon, you had a little bit of a challenge there at the end. Talk to us about that last lap.
Oh, it was a fantastic last lap. Keith nearly got me a couple of laps before, and so he'd practiced the move, but I wasn't good enough to hold him off. So congrats to Keith, and it was a great race.
It certainly looked like it was fun to have out there. Did you learn anything for race 2, though?
Stay in front. No, I mean, anything can happen at COTA, and, there's a couple of full-course yellows. I think you just have to be prepared. It was my first ever restart, so I'm learning as I go, and, if we have a restart tomorrow, I'll be that much more wiser.
Makes sense to me. Congratulations. We're going to go find Keith Grant, our winner in the Pro-Am here in a second.
Here at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, just completed our first of the Cayman races. Joe Peak is down on boots on the ground, I should call it.
Keith
and
Grant.
making sure that we've got all of our winners interviewed. We just spoke with Simon Reed, who was our winner in the Masters class. And now Joe Peak is just simply trying to find Keith Grant out there, driver of that orange number 40. And then he'll be grabbing us our podium interview. And of course, don't go anywhere after this race is all done. We have lots more racing coming up here at COTA this afternoon, including we've got our race number 1 for our USA West Series coming up at 2:45 p.m. Central Time. Our Miles Cup race with our Ford Mustang Cup coming up at 3:45 p.m. And then also our Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup race coming up at 4:50 p.m. Central Time. So we have several more races going on here this afternoon at COTA, and then we also have a ton of action tomorrow, all day tomorrow, pretty much starting at 8:45 a.m. Central Time with Cayman Race number 2. It feeds straight into our GT3 Cup race number 2, and also have the IMSA Airbnb Endurance Challenge out here with us this weekend. So lots of different types of racing going on, especially on the road racing track. And it sounds like Joe Peak is going to be ready with Keith Grant.
It's always difficult when you have the other classes involved in your battle for the win, and that's exactly what you had, Keith. How did you manage that up there?
Very closely. I knew after qualifying we were all just a tenth off each other. I said it's going to be a close race, and it was. I knew I had to stay with Reed, just right on his tail the whole time. Rana would get by me. She did the same with me, stayed right on me, and all of a sudden we got a restart. I was like, this is going to be mayhem. And lap 2, we came in. He opened the door through the S's. I had to stick it in there and try to put a gap between me and Anna. Did. It worked out, and just had a great race. Really good day.
Anna leads you in the points. Are you paying attention to that at all in your fight with her out on track?
No, I just got to win every race. That's all. I got to try to win every race. And finally got my first win of the season. I'm glad to do that. Her and I have had a really close battle at Sebring, and now it's back here again. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Indeed, a reversal of roles. That's our winner in the Pro-Am. We'll be back with you with the USA West Series here in just a moment.